Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, whatever time it is, wherever you are. Welcome once more to another video podcast of PNT Live. I am your hostess, Alex Mayers, and today we are going to review and I'll provide some commentary on a recent legal filing written by Donald Carlos Seoane, aka Donny Long. He filed it into a stalking and defamation case, which was filed against him by some unfortunate victims of his who operate a RV resort in the Sarasota, Florida area. I'm just going to read it, and I do want people to know that I also forwarded this filing to Sean, aka TRPWL, of the real Pornwikileaks, not Pornwikileaks, but the real Pornwikileaks. He had a kind of a snarky reply in regards to it, though, to me. I don't know if he's just mad that I came across this before he did, or if he's just a dumbass. I'm not really sure, but it doesn't matter to me. The thing about Sean, aka TRPWL, is that he tries to downplay things that are important when it's something that he's not familiar with. So anyone out there, whoever goes to him as someone to try to get your story out, keep that in mind about him. So I'm just going to read it, and as I read it, I'll commentate on it. It's actually kind of funny. It really is kind of funny. And the first sentence is, I think, probably the only time in Donald Seoane's life he's ever told the truth. Your Honor, I am not a lawyer, so I am doing the best I can. That's right, you're not a lawyer. And this probably is the best you can do. However, Brian Chase missed the deadline to remove this back to state court. A motion to remand must be made within the 30 days after filing the notice for removal. 28 U.S. Code Section 1447. And just a little bit of backstory. This particular filing is called an opposition to motion to remand. All right? And basically what Seoane is attempting to do is get this case, which is a stalking and harassment case, also a defamation case, moved from state court to federal court because he feels he would have a better chance there. That's what his initial attorney, Marc Randazza, tried to do for him, but failed to do. The great thing about this particular case being in Florida is that it's going to be very easy for the judge to run a quick search on Seoane and find that he did the exact same thing to me. My mother and I both actually tried to get him into a courtroom in regards to criminal stalking, but he evaded the courts. He never showed up. All right. I filed the notice of removal on August 13th, 2020, and he misspelled August. How can you even manage to misspell August? Then they didn't file a motion to remand until August 29th. And in all that time, we had to file a motion for summary judgment, and the case should be dismissed because they did not send notice under Florida statutes 770.01 until after they filed this case. Florida law is very clear that you cannot do that. You need to give 5 days notice as argued in the motion for summary judgment, which the court should read in conjunction with this opposition. And here's what I don't think Seoane realizes. Even if this case were to be dismissed on a mere technicality, all they have to do is refile. He will never get away from these people. He has created, I don't even know how many websites to specifically criminally defame, harass, blackmail, and extort his targets. I personally feel that he specifically tried to set up shop in this Sun and Fun RV resort because most of the residents are vacationers and they have money So he felt like, wow, this is, quite the place for me to target quite a few people who most likely would bend to my whims because they don't want to be annoyed and they don't want to go into legalities with me. Because that's his hope. His hope is to basically consistently be paid off, paid to go away, because that's what a bunch of fools in the pornography industry did when it came to him. They basically paid him to go away, and that was the wrong thing to do, because now he's trying to, go into other industries, other areas of societies, and pull the exact same thing that he did when it came to Pornwikileaks, but apply that same blueprint, that same pattern onto other industries, or people, targets rather, in other industries. So let me continue. This case is a federal case because it has copyright elements in it, and that makes this a federal matter. No, actually, Seoane, this is a stalking and harassment case, also a blackmail case, also an extortion case. It's a criminal case. It should be in criminal court, to be honest. I have to admit that I copied the arguments below from a document that my previous lawyer gave me dealing with another case he had that was similar, but the arguments are the same in this as in this case. All right, so then he copies and pastes a bunch of bullshit. As far as their requests for attorney's fees are concerned, that is improper. No, it's not. Even the state court judge thought that this was a copyright case because in her notice of hearing, she saw the same thing my previous lawyer saw, that this case is at least in part all about copyrighted images. No, it's not all about copyrighted images. It's about a lot more, but it's interesting that he really thinks that he can make this argument. They cannot say that I did something sanctionable when even the state court judge did the same thing and came to the same conclusion. Plaintiff moves for attorney's fees and costs under 28 U.S.C. Quote, the grant of attorney's fees on removal and remand is a matter which rests within the sound discretion of the trial court. My arguments for removal were so reasonable that the judge saw the same exact thing. For this reason, the court should not grant plaintiffs attorney's fees. And it is important to note that Marc Randazza, his initial attorney, did remove himself from this case. It's also important to note that Marc Randazza recently lied in a filing into another case unrelated to this one between the Washington NFL team Redskins owner Daniel Snyder and an entity linked to another criminal known as Ari Bass, a criminal blogger, believe it or not. And in his particular statement, he defamed me personally, lied about me personally, and completely overreached by claiming that I'm mentally ill. I'm not mentally ill. And Marc Randazza, in no way, shape, or form, is in any position to diagnose mental illness within anybody. He is an attorney, not a psychiatrist, and not a psychologist. Furthermore, both Brian Chase, a witness, I think he meant to write, both Brian Chase and his witness have done all the things they accuse me and my wife of doing in efforts to bully us and silence us from reporting the truth about their shady business practices, doxing, online bullying, and more. Okay, everything that he listed that he's claiming this attorney Brian Chase has done to him, in actuality, Donald Carlos Seoane, aka Donny Long, without a doubt has done not only to Brian Chase, but to a multitude of people, including me. Brian has repeatedly lied to the court on court documents from the start of this case and under oath on the witness stand in state court. My wife has zero to do with any of this. That is not true. His wife has a lot to do with his operation. She is very proficient on the computer. She knows English far better than she lets on. She is also known as Heather Deep, a woman who was a sex worker, quite possibly illegally within the United States. She is a trained and well-conditioned hustler, and likely an even more diabolical criminal than her husband. My wife has zero to do with any of this, and they only attached her to bully and stalk her and her name on court record and online to get at me, which they threatened to do before they even did it, and which they are continuing to do this day all over the internet. And if you want to read this for yourself, just pop on over to my Twitter account at AlexMayersLive. It's not very well written, so it is hard to read out loud. They are currently working with a well-known mentally ill stalker named Alexandra Melody Mayers, aka porn star Monica Foster, a 41-year-old bitter online terrorist that lives with her mother and has stalked me and my wife and children online over a decade and made countless threats to murder us both and our children. If I've done all that, I'm a legend. I have audio recordings of her threatening to murder my wife and her unborn child when she was pregnant. Lawyer Brian Chase called me on my cell phone, threatening me to align himself with my well-known online enemies and dox and stalk my wife, and both Brian Chase and his witness from Sun and Fun made threats to harm myself and my wife and stalk us online, and now are following through with their threats. Who in the world would believe that an RV resort called Sun and Fun would do all this? That's why I'm saying this is funny. Jim Martin is one of their witnesses that made threats online and then followed through with them, which I have screenshots and witnesses to also. My lawyer, Marc Randazza, that withdrew himself from this case, and keep in mind, Marc Randazza is known for representing the porn industry, being friendly with pedophiles, people charged with child abuse, neo-Nazis, notorious online trolls. That right there pretty much tells you that Donald Carlos Seoane, aka Donny Long, along with everything documented on famouscriminals.info, is not only guilty as sin, but has committed perjury in this filing. My lawyer, Marc Randazza, that withdrew himself from this case due to Brian Chase's threats to him, is also being stalked, libeled, and harassed by them and Alexandra Melody Mayers and their other witnesses from Sun and Fun, including lawyer Brian Chase. Alexandra has been doing this for many years to Mark. And then he goes on and on and on and on and on. He brings up a guy known as Eddie Dial, or Diesel. And that's about it. That's about it. So if you want to read this for yourself, all you got to do is pop on over to my Twitter account. I will repost this over on pntlive.net and I guess over on pornnewstoday.com. I'll keep y'all posted on this particular account. I just kind of wanted to show y'all this view. It kind of got, glared out while I was doing the podcast. But isn't that pretty? Welcome to fall. Welcome to fall. For those of you who haven't been following, I have been on my tour of America. I've been on my tour of America for the past few weeks. And I've been having a ball. So make sure you read that legal filing. I'll tell you, I probably should have been a lawyer because I really enjoy reading legal briefs. You will find some of the most interesting stories in the courts. That's something for aspiring writers to understand. Some of the most interesting stories in life can be found in legal briefs. But take care, everybody. Hope y'all could hear me. Hope it wasn't too windy out here. But I don't know if there's going to be a PNT Live tonight. Maybe, maybe not. I just kind of want to enjoy my final time here in DC. It's such a pretty city. I highly recommend that young African American women move to Washington, D.C. It's a good place for us, even though I'm not so young anymore. Anyways, take care. Have a good one.